Hey Pica Pau lovers, thank you for joining me for the second episode in our Animal Friends of Pica Pau trilogy. Now I'm crocheting out of the Animal Friends of Pica Pau 2, which is by the designer Jan Schenkel. There are 20 patterns in this book and Jan rates the patterns from 1 star, which is the easiest, to 3 star, which is quite advanced. And I, in this video, will be crocheting the intermediate or 2 star patterns. Now majority of the patterns in this book are actually 2 stars, so it was quite difficult to narrow down on the project that I will be making for this video, but when it came down to it, I had to go with my favorite insect, which is the bee. Agatha Bee is just one of 13 2-star patterns in the Animal Friends of Pica Pau 2. All of the characters have adorable backstories, and Agatha's goes: Agatha Bee has a large family and she loves them and their work on the honey farm. However, since she was a teeny tiny bee, she knew that the honey business wasn't for her. She wanted to travel but couldn't go too far. Her wings are not big enough, and since she was born in a marguerite farm in New Zealand, she would have to cross the ocean, and that would make her seasick for sure. Luckily, on her first trip to the coast, she met some extraordinary tattoo artists, and that's when she knew what she wanted to do for a living. She's working as an intern now, getting to know its craft and getting tattoos all over her body. Please don't tell her parents, though her grandpa would love her new tats. The other 2-star patterns include Satsuki Cat. When she was a little kitten, Satsuki received her first notebook and a 48 colored pencil case. She was so awed that she didn't touch her gifts for days. When she did use them for the very first time, she took care not to spoil a single sheet or break a single pen. Satsuki enjoyed writing and drawing, but she liked looking at her beautiful blue-lined notebook and dazzling red pencil case even more. Over the years, she put together a stationery collection so big it took over her entire room, and when her room didn't have any more space left, she took a big leap. Today, she's the proud and happy owner of a cute little stationery shop, where she can pass on her passion to anyone entering through the red door with the blue linen curtains. And then there is Mario Raccoon. Mario is a bus driver and he adores his job. 5 days a week, he drives his bus through the valley, connecting 2 little towns and passing through a small village by the river. Mario enjoys watching the seasons change. He's also a poet at heart, but what he cherishes the most are the chats with his passengers. Mario loves talking about the weather or the next harvest and, sharing a bit of gossip. After reading a column on the life of the famous authors, Mario came up with the idea of writing down the stories of all the people he had driven around throughout the years. He now takes advantage of his 2-hour breaks to write down ideas. He already has enough material to write a 3-volume saga, but he says he still needs more, though that might be an excuse to gossip even more. There is Newton Owl. Newton is a cartographer. He met his best friend Darwin Turtle when mapping a group of new islands in the Pacific Ocean. Although they don't see each other a lot, they write each other the longest letters detailing every little thing they learned while not together. Darwin can write a page after page about the number of spots he saw a ladybug, and Newton couldn't care less, but he enjoys Darwin's passion so much that he never complains, not even when he writes him for the upteenth time about how his uncle met the very same Charles Darwin. And sometimes these detailed descriptions come in handy, because what Newton loves doing the most is creating imaginary maps for imaginary world. Believe it or not, Newton is the mastermind behind the maps of many board games, stories, and movies you know. There is Otis the Sloth. Otis had a hard time figuring out what he wanted to do in life. He's a patient guy, yes, some of the stereotypes hold true, but he was slowly getting bored of doing almost nothing. First he tried to be a DJ, but Otis didn't like most of the loud modern music. He then tried working at a restaurant, but sadly his customers had the curious habit of wanting their food still hot. Otis decided to wait until the next opportunity presented itself. Stress isn't good for your complexion. And what do you know, a new job opened up right away. His friend Lupita Spider Monkey told Otis that she needed someone to keep an eye on her space observatory at night, and that's how Otis landed his dream job, watching the night sky while laying on a comfy brunch. Next is Henriette the Zebra. Henriette was born far from the city that never sleeps, but she soon found herself studying and working in art galleries in New York anyway. Henriette is happy walking the bustling and somewhat smelly streets in high heels, observing all kinds of creatures from all around the world. However, she also misses the tasty dishes she had growing up in her childhood home. A few months ago, she called her grandma to ask her about all the recipes she knew. Since her grandma swore she'd never set foot in the city, Henriette challenged herself to become the best jambalaya and gumbo cook in New York. Perhaps she will end up opening a small restaurant where everyone can talk about art until the crack of dawn. There is Louisa Elephant. Being an elephant is not easy at all. It's almost impossible to walk into a room unnoticed, and you have to be extremely careful not to trample on things. Lulu, as her loved ones call her, learned that she could only visit the houses where she fit through the door, and after a few restaurants and cafes had enough space to fit her generous body. And let's not talk about public transportation. Louisa has a big and bright personality, but not being able to visit so many places makes her very sad. That's why Louisa now works as an urban architect and is part of a group of animals that works hard every day to change and improve life for large animals in cities around the world. Anderson's seal is the 8th two-star pattern in the book. Anderson was born near Valles Peninsula in Patagonia, Argentina, but he now prefers to spend most of the year in Les Enclares Lighthouse near Ushuaia, also Argentina. He sometimes longs for the warmer weather, but he definitely doesn't miss his noisy relatives gossiping and asking lots of questions. Don't get him wrong, he loves his chattering family, but he prefers to enjoy their company only once a year. Anderson spends his time collecting 35mm films and making award-winning cheeses. He's become such a famous cheesemaker that more people are stopping by his place now. Moving the cheese production to the mainland has solved that problem. Now he can continue to enjoy his quiet paradise. Up next is James Duck. James has a little half-timbered antique shop in Rye, Sussex. Every Saturday he wakes up early, fills his favorite red kettle. As a proper antique shop owner, James has quite a big collection of kettles and teapots, of course, and prepares himself a nice cup of tea while deciding which antique fair he's going to visit. With a thermos of delicious tea, a basket filled with cucumber sandwiches, and a lovely selection of cheeses, James is a well-liked guest of any fair he visits. He always prepares Comte's cheese sandwiches for his lifelong friend Sebastian Lyon to enjoy when they go antique hunting together. He usually doesn't say it out loud, but James really loves Saturdays. Up next is Philip Lobster. Philip was born on the coast of Picardy. Although he was born without a larger antenna, his family helped him overcome that small handicap by teaching him how to use his claws in a delicate manner. Philip achieved such a great skill that the whole town called on him when they needed something done, but Philip found he liked cutting fabric the most. One day, he decided it was time to share his art with the world, and with all his happiness in tow, he put on the most beloved creation, his striped shirt inspired by the coast, and got on a train to Paris. He began selling his shirts to his neighbors, acquaintances, and soon everyone was wearing his blue striped shirt. And that's how Philip became the most famous tailor of all time, the creator of the Merino. Ada Lamb is next. Ada was raised by her Italian grandmother, an opera lover. Although at first she didn't quite understand how anyone could be a fan of such loud singing, Ada fell in love with the music and the opera herself when her grandmother showed her the cartoons she used to watch in her childhood, the silly symphonies. And well, the rest is history. Ada has not only become the youngest Lamb orchestra conductor, but she's also an astonishingly talented soprano who has taken concert halls around the world by storm with her incredible energy and passion. At least once a year she visits Italy to enjoy her favorite activity in the whole world, to sit and watch cartoons with her grandmother while drinking an aperitif. Last but not least, we have Elena Dia. Elena works as an IT freelancer for Nara Tigress. She programs all the systems that help her friend make her ingenious fabrics. When Elena is not working in the lab, she gets her creative tick from programming video games, her true passion. Alina loves video games. They allow her to be whoever she wants to be without always having to be the sweet, lovable dear everyone expects her to be. Work at the lab can get busy and stressful, so to get back on her feet, Alina has taken a couple months off her day job to work on an exciting new game together with Newton Owl and her soulmate Audrey Gazelle. Agatha the Bee is done and she's absolutely adorable if I do say so myself. There is so much detail that has gone into her. Look at her cute little rosy cheeks. There's a bit of ribbing in that section there to add some texture. Lots of color changes in the body section. She's got a stinger at the back and adorable little wings. She's even got adorable booties. It's so cute. This is definitely not your ordinary bee pattern. Jan Schenkel has put so much detail into the actual body of this, which is where the complexity comes from. But she was pretty simple to make. So the shape of it is just like a capsule, so not too many, you know, increases, decreases, shaping involved, fairly simple. The complexity comes from the color changes, so you will have to work with multiple strands of yarn when you're working this section. You will also need to learn how to read a color chart, which is fairly simple once you get the hang of it. I'm just going to try and show you the one from the pattern here. So this is the scarf section and that's her belly, so you sort of work upwards like that. And it basically just tells you what color to do per stitch. So you start from here. So here, for example, it tells you do 3 in black, change color for 1 stitch, and then change back to black and do 3 more, change color for 1 stitch. Like basically you just continue that for the round and then move up to the next round. Easy once you get the hang of it, but if you're fairly new, that is something that you will have to learn, but not too complicated. And definitely, you know, you get a gorgeous creature out of it once you have learned that skill. So incredibly cute. Only took me around 39 grams of yarn to make this one, and that was DK weight yarn when paired with a 3mm clover or more hook. So depending on the weight of yarn that you use and your hook size, that will be slightly different, but yeah, about the size of my face. And it took me less than a weekend to make. I definitely could have got it done in one day if I did have nothing else to do yesterday, but still fairly quick. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on Agatha the Bee. I did make her, so I am a tad bit biased, but I think she's the cutest pattern in the book. But I would love to know your thoughts as well. If you have made other patterns from the Animal Friends of Pica Pau too, I would love to know your thoughts on them, what your favorite is, or the most challenging pattern you've made from this book. I would totally love to read it. But if you did enjoy this video, I think you might enjoy the first one in this series where I crocheted a 1-star pattern, and you can watch that right here. I will see you there. Bye.